the 9th of April, 1940. Under the code name Operation Weserübung, Nazi Germany invades Denmark and Norway. Strategically, Denmark's importance to Germany is as a staging area for operations in Norway. In Norway, Germany seeks to secure naval bases for use against the British fleet in the North Sea, and to guarantee vital iron ore shipments from neutral Sweden, on which Nazi Germany is dependent. While invasion of Denmark lasts less than 6 hours and is the shortest military campaign conducted by the Germans during the war, Norway surrenders to Germany only after 2 months, on the 10th of June, 1940. During the German occupation of Norway, the Gestapo, the Nazi secret police, plays a key role in maintaining control and terrorizing the local population. Its most dangerous man is a German SS officer who will become notorious for the torture and murder of many members of the Norwegian resistance movement. His name is Gerhard Flesch. Gerhard Friedrich Ernst Flesch was born on the 8th of October 1909 in Posen, today's Poznań, then part of the German Empire. After Germany lost the First World War, which ended on the 11th of November 1918, Poznań became part of Poland and the Flesch family moved to Bavaria. Flesch then studied political science and law in Marburg and married Ursula Richter. The marriage produced 2 sons, Thilo and Udo. During the Second World War, he would have another child, a daughter, Gertrudin, whose mother was a certain Anneliese Zechmeister. On the 30th of January 1933, Adolf Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany by President Paul von Hindenburg. The same year, Flesch joined the Nazi Party, and in 1934, he became a member of the SS. In 1936, he joined the Gestapo, and Reinhard Heydrich, its chief, gave him the task to monitor religious sects in Germany. In 1938, Hitler threatened to unleash a European war unless the Sudetenland, a border area of Czechoslovakia containing an ethnic German majority, was surrendered to Germany. The leaders of Britain, France, Italy and Germany held a conference in Munich in Germany on the 29th and 30th of September 1938, in which they agreed to the German annexation of the Sudetenland in exchange for a pledge of peace from Hitler. Czechoslovakia, which was not a party to the Munich negotiations, agreed under significant pressure from Britain and France. On the 15th of March 1939, Hitler violated the Munich Agreement and moved against the Czechoslovak state. The Czech provinces of Bohemia and Moravia were proclaimed a German protectorate and were occupied by German forces. Slovakia became an independent state, closely allied with Germany. Hungary, which had annexed territory in southern Slovakia after the Munich Conference, seized the Transcarpathian Ukraine. Czechoslovakia ceased to exist. Flesch took part in the German march into the Sudetenland, and the following year in the annexation of Bohemia and Moravia. The Second World War began on the 1st of September 1939 when Nazi Germany invaded Poland. Nazi Germany possessed overwhelming military superiority over Poland. Germany launched the unprovoked attack with an advanced force consisting of more than 2,000 tanks, supported by nearly 900 bombers and over 400 fighter planes. In all, Germany deployed 60 divisions and nearly 1.5 million men in the invasion. Whenever Nazi Germany's army marched into a country, the Einsatzgruppen, the Nazi mobile death squads, immediately followed to secure newly seized territory. Their tasks included identifying and neutralizing potential enemies of German rule, seizing important sites, preventing sabotage, recruiting collaborators, and establishing intelligence networks. When Germany attacked Poland in September 1939, the Einsatzgruppen also killed civilians perceived as enemies. Flesch became a leader of the Einsatzkommando in Poznań, his hometown. Einsatzkommandos were a subgroup of the Einsatzgruppen. Between the 20th and 23rd of October 1939, the Einsatzkommando that he commanded executed 275 Poles in the Greater Poland region near Poznań. The victims included political leaders, teachers, police officers, Catholic priests, workers and farmers, as well as scouts as young as 18. Flesch's men also shot more than 40 people in November 1939. In addition, on Flesch's orders, many Poles and Jews were deported and synagogues were closed. The German invasion of France, Belgium, Luxembourg and the Netherlands started on the 10th of May 1940 and became known as the Battle of France. These countries, along with France, were conquered within 6 weeks. During the campaign in France, Flesch was a member of the 3rd SS Division Totenkopf, an elite division of the Waffen-SS, and led a special unit of the Security Police with the task of securing secret files of the French intelligence service. Waffen-SS was the military branch of the SS. Flesch was then assigned to Norway, where he served as a commander of the security service and security police in Bergen. At the start of World War II in 1939, Norway, like all of Scandinavia, gained new strategic importance for Germany. Erich Raeder, head of the German Navy from 1939 to 1943, was concerned about maintaining German naval access to the North Sea and the Atlantic Ocean via naval bases on the Norwegian shoreline. In December 1939, first Raeder, then Hitler, met with Vidkun Quisling, the leader of the Norwegian fascists, who suggested the British were planning to move into Norway for their own strategic needs. Alarmed, Germany began planning Operation Weserübung, the invasion of Denmark and Norway. The German invasion of Norway under General Nikolaus von Falkenhorst began on the 9th of April 1940, and 2 months later, on the 10th of June 1940, Norway fell to Germany. Whilst in Bergen, Flesch established contact with the local police to enforce Nazi policies that would target Jews and the Norwegian resistance movement. Shortly thereafter, Flesch requested that the police collect the radios from Jewish homes. By confiscating radios, the Nazis sought to limit the ability of Jews to access news and information from outside sources, such as foreign broadcasts or resistance movements. The Bergen police protested that there was no legal basis for this, but Flesch would not budge. The police then asked if any Jews would be willing to hand in their radios, and because enough devices were handed in, Flesch calmed down. In June 1940, he asked the Norwegian criminal police for help in arresting and interrogating Norwegians. This was refused, but the Norwegian chief of criminal investigation named Frigord made it clear that he expected every member of the criminal police to always show courtesy and correct behavior towards the German authorities and willingly comply with their requests. Because Flesch was concerned that Norwegian police officers might resign in order to not have to cooperate with his people, he threatened that if many quit, they would all be dismissed and replaced by Germans. In October 1941, Flesch was appointed as commander of the security service and security police in Trondheim. As soon as Flesch arrived at Trondheim, he launched action against the Jewish community. Nazis would confiscate Jewish properties and businesses, seize their valuables and bank deposits, often based on false accusations of tax evasion. By the spring of 1942, dozens of Jewish businesses in Trondheim had been seized and then run by managers appointed by Nazi collaborators. There were approximately 2,100 Jews in Norway at the time of the German invasion. Among them were about 350 German and Austrian refugees who had sought haven from Nazi Germany. A month after the mass arrest of Jewish men, Nazi officials working with their local collaborators began to arrest women and children. Acting on the plans that had been previously developed, the Norwegian police arrested Jews throughout Norway and brought them to Oslo for deportation to Germany. The first deportation of 532 Jews left Oslo on the 26th of November 1942. Another 158 were deported on the 25th of February 1943, followed by transfers of smaller groups. In all, 772 Norwegian Jews were deported from the Norwegian capital to Germany. From Oslo, Norwegian Jews were sent by ship to the German port city of Stettin, today's Szczecin, in Poland. They were then transferred by train to Auschwitz, where most were gassed immediately upon arrival. Only 34 Norwegian Jews, all men, ultimately did survive to see the end of the war. In January 1942, the Gestapo in Trondheim had arrested 4 Jews for listening to an illegal radio. In Bergen, the prisoners were tried before a German court-martial under the Wehrmacht, the German armed forces, but in Trondheim, Gerhard Flesch served as a judge in the police court. Here, he sentenced the 4 Jews to death. As commander of the district, Flesch was also chief of Falstad concentration camp outside Trondheim and the prisons in Trondheim. The Gestapo in Trondheim was based at the Mission Hotel, and one night in August 1944, Flesch arranged for 15 Russian prisoners from Falstad to be hanged. Each of the men from the SD, the Nazi Party intelligence service, had to personally hang one of the Russians. Gerhard Flesch was referred to as the Gestapo's most dangerous man in Norway and took personal pleasure in participating in torture. During an unannounced inspection at Falstad, he came across 3 sick and weak Jewish prisoners and got angry at the camp manager who left sick Jews lying around. He said, "Make a grave outside and everything will be fine." A few days later, the sick Jews were executed. Flesch also personally presided over the execution of resistance fighter Johnny Pevik, who was the only Norwegian to be hanged in Norway. Flesch, with the help of Henry Rinnan, was active in infiltrating the Norwegian resistance movement. Rinnan was a notorious Norwegian Gestapo agent who led a group named Sonderabteilung Lola. Undercover, the group contacted people who were anti-Nazi, through whom they infiltrated the Norwegian resistance movement. After a period of active work in the resistance group, both to gather information and build trust, the network was rolled up and the participants arrested and interrogated. Rinnan is said to have been very impressed by Flesch, both as a tall, handsome man with a great uniform, and the power to decide over life and death in his district. Flesch usually listened to Rinnan's advice when the Gestapo planned an operation, and is said to have personally tortured prisoners in Rinnan's presence. The Second World War in Europe ended on the 8th of May 1945 with the unconditional surrender of Nazi Germany. In early May 1945, Flesch escaped among regular German soldiers with a gold bar in his luggage, but was recognized and reported by another German in a prisoner of war camp in Skien. He was sent back to Trondheim with a police escort and made an unsuccessful attempt to escape. When he returned to Trondheim, he was searched and found to be equipped with food, soap, candles, and a map of Bergen and the surrounding area, a map of Norway, and the maps of Denmark and Sweden. It was never revealed who his possible helpers were. As a prisoner, Flesch was assigned to dig up the dead in Falstad forest, where in the period of 1942 to 1943, more than 200 prisoners were executed and buried in mass graves. Julius Paltiel, one of the 26 Norwegian Jews who returned from Auschwitz and was among those who testified against Flesch, kicked him into the grave. Flesch, a notorious torturer and murderer, was tried in 1946. The charges against him included 7 instances of ordering the murders of a total of 37 prisoners, even though 4 of those targeted were not killed, 5 instances of torture, and 1 instance of withholding medical treatment, resulting in death. On the 2nd of December 1946, Flesch was sentenced to death by firing squad. After the sentence was announced, he simply signed Gerhard Flesch, SS Obersturmbannführer. When asked if he was still Obersturmbannführer, Flesch replied, "I am and remain Obersturmbannführer." In conversation, he declared that he had done nothing more than what a good soldier should do. Flesch appealed to the Supreme Court of Norway on procedural grounds, and that the sentence was too harsh. However, on the 12th of February 1948, his appeal was rejected. When Gerhard Flesch was executed on the 28th of February 1948 at Kristiansten Fortress in Trondheim, he was 38 years old. Right before the order was given to fire, Flesch shouted, "This is a marvelous day! Heil Hitler!" The following day, his body was sent by train to the Department of Anatomy at the University of Oslo. There were no tears shed for Gerhard Flesch.
Thanks for watching the World History Channel. Be sure to like and subscribe, and click the bell notification icon so you don't miss our next episodes. We thank you, and we'll see you next time on the channel.